apparently my intro failed, you guys. So I don't know what happened with that, but I had an intro. I always do, but what's up, guys? We're here on the podcast. I got Kai from Lucas Landon Royals with us today. How are you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm not doing too bad. We had a little bit of technical difficulties here. A little bit of a disaster, but we got figured out. So
That's fine.
So how long have you been breeding for?
How long have I breeding for? I started in 2016 with a hatchling, and I was impatient, so from there I got a couple adults.
Okay.
Yeah, when I figured out I wanted to breed these ball pythons, I thought before I invest too much money into it, let me just see if I can do it. So I picked up an albino female and a pied female, and then they were pretty easy. I was successful.
Right.
Breeding everything came out. Whatever number of eggs that they laid, that's the number of hatchlings I got. That was technically, if we look at numbers, that's my most successful season because it's at 100%. Everything laid and everything came out. But yeah, as your collection starts to build and grow, you get more. That's not always going to be the case. You'll get slugs, infertility, deformity. Some females don't want to go and reabsorb and things like that. So it kind of went downhill at that point. But it's still fun. And I don't really base it on the numbers that much anyway. So, but yeah, I think it's 2016 to answer your question. 2016 is when I started. I think, like I said, I just started with 2 clutches. And then the following year, I got maybe 8 clutches, and then 12, then 20, then 20 something. And then now on to this year. So I think this is my 5th or 6th season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're still kind of newish a little bit.
Yeah.
You're just starting to hit your peak or your level and stuff like that. Gotcha. So I know that you do homemade racks and stuff a lot, correct?
Yeah, that's I figure if I'm going to build it, why not make it content for my channel?
Right.
So, but at this point, I'm not building any more racks. My room's kind of capped out. It's already wall to wall. The room that I got created for myself, it's not even a rectangle or a square. It's I had to try to finesse every inch I could get out of my basement. So it's kind of it's in a weird it's 2 L's joined together. It's an L and an L, kind of my name, Lucas Landon. So it just happens to come out in the same shape. I don't even know how to measure that shape to see what square footage it is, but really I can only put racks on 2 of the walls.
Okay.
Sorry, 3 of the walls. I can't really put it on the 4th wall because it's so narrow that it doesn't make sense to put stuff in there. But in the beginning, I was building the racks because I needed them, and that's why I made those rack building videos. Towards the end, when I was just finishing out building all the racks to maximize the space, I made some minor adjustments to some of my designs, and I showed those off in my videos as well. But at this point, I can build 10 more racks, but they will all be the same video. So I don't really want to keep building more racks, which I don't need, and I don't need to keep making videos because I've kind of already made the best version I can. So, but yeah, I did build a lot of the stuff though.
So do you plan on expanding more eventually, or you just keep your collection about where it's at? What do you think? I know you're going to have. I know you have all those holdbacks and stuff with your heads and those head sunsets that you've been posting and stuff like that. So I mean, where are you at with your room wise? You gonna expand it or?
I wouldn't say no, but right now I'm happy at the capacity that I am in. It's tough to say I want to expand more when I don't have enough time to do all these things, right? I got the family. I still have my 9 to 5, and then I have this thing. The snake stuff, I'm actually I stay up late You know, I don't go to sleep like till 2 o'clock on some
Yeah.
days because I'm in there cleaning. I was like, I gotta clean it, get everything ready because like in 2 days or whatever, I have to go feed them, and I don't want them to be in all nasty stuff when they're eating,
Yep.
and then you don't want to mess with them right after feeding. So like if I don't clean them today, then it's going to be really really bad in 2, 3,
Yep.
4 days. So you have to kind of just do it. But yeah, like I said, sometimes I have to do that up till like 2 o'clock in the morning. Um, yeah, it's a lot of things going on, so I don't think I want to expand too much right now. Like I have maybe 10 adult tubs that
Okay.
are available, but I purposely keep some tubs available. It just makes cleaning much faster. Like you
Right.
can move them to an empty bin, clean their bin, and then move them back, as opposed to like I don't know, taking out another. I don't know how some other people do it when it's like completely full to capacity.
Yeah, yeah, full capacity going on.
Yeah, and then as far as the hatchlings go, um, I have I think I counted like 180 hatchling tubs total. Some of them are getting filled up now that I started hatching. But yeah, it, it, it's a ton of work, so I don't think I want to expand too much right now. Now, if I could be like really successful this season and kind of foresee myself doing this full time, I think I might expand a little bit further. But right now, I don't foresee myself expanding too much. I want to do what kind of Ozzy does, like Ozzy Boy, where he like just keeps replacing his old females
Right.
with newer ones.
That's what I want to do too a little bit. I think
Yeah.
it's a good concept to have. So you don't have all these snakes or whatever, but like you're producing more for yourself, and then you can get rid of what
Hmm.
what you don't want or you're not going to use necessarily. Say. So
Yeah.
I agree with that aspect too.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So
He has a pretty good model, because it's like what he says is like if you're going to spend, I don't know, whatever the number is for you guys who are watching, like whatever that number is that you put into a snake. Maybe
right,
it's like $1,000, maybe it's $1,500 of your time and the food and the maintenance and the water changes and all that stuff.
right,
If you put a price tag to that, you're going to be doing that for an animal. Um, you don't want to do that for the same animal all the time. You want to switch it out so that you have a more valuable or more, you know,
DNA diverse snake that
yeah,
can get
more
more.
all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, all of that stuff because it costs the same. It costs the same to raise a $200 snake as it does a $2,000 snake. So you do want to keep rotating them out, if you can, and that's kind of how he says he like increases the value of his collection and keep it modern. No, not keep
right,
it modern, but keep it current, right? Because the
right.
market's always changing, and so
It's always changing.
so there's like so many benefits to just rotating out a smaller collection as opposed to just constantly building and building and building on a huge collection. And I think there's a lot of rationale to what he says. I mean, you could see Brian Barczyk, who had like an entire building of snakes, and he
Yeah,
even said that at some point, like he got to the point where he's not making a profit anymore. It's like no matter how many more animals he gets, the profit stayed the same because
right.
of all the
The
costs
time.
going into it, time and the cost and more staff, and then he wasn't able to control it. So like I'd rather keep a smaller collection where I can be the only one to maybe have one employee, like a family member or someone who helps
Right.
out. But I don't want to go and find like 4 or 5 employees to do the work.
Right.
Yeah, I just kind of want to keep it small. So
So you do it inside your house, correct?
yeah, yeah,
So you have a basement then where they're all at? You can do
yep,
the Okay, gotcha.
yep, yep.
Um, so like how did you come up with the Lucas Landon? So like what's the story behind the name?
So when I started my channel, it was like June or July of 2016, and I was struggling to come up with a name. I was kind of like exotics or reptiles or something cool, but I was like, eventually I might want to do this with my kids.
Right.
Like people always have like they want to leave a legacy, and you can
Yep.
see like a lot of companies like electricians and plumbers. It's like Anderson and Sons, that
Yep.
they want to leave it on. So I didn't want to follow that same model, but I wanted my kids to maybe take part of it in the future. So I just took their names and I tried different variations: Landon, Lucas, Luke, Land, different variations
Okay.
to try to find one that would fit all the social platforms, right?
Right.
And like, you know, and I finally found Lucas Landon, which I was able to grab on like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and whatever, YouTube as well. And I actually found that the domain name was available too. So I just went to GoDaddy really quick, and I was like, "Here's $8.99. I just want the domain name for now. I
Right.
don't have any plans for it." And then they tried to sell me on a bunch of different packages. I was like, "Listen, I don't know what I'm doing with this yet. I just want to grab the name real quick." Um, so that's how I came up with the name. And like I said, like I wanted like my kids to be part of it, but I think I don't know, maybe like a year or two right after that, there was that what is it called? That thing where like YouTube cracked down on people who were putting their kids in the
Oh
videos.
yeah, with the underage stuff.
Yeah,
I think I heard about that. Yeah, like I
yeah.
did hear about. They did do a big crackdown on that and stuff, like with the kids and stuff. So yeah, I did hear about that. So
So
uh,
right when like I said, when I first signed up, my kids were still young, but 2 years after that, when I wanted them to be in the video, that's where that underage thing came about. And I was like, now I can't do it, right? Because
right,
I don't want my channel to be, because I hear all these people who are complaining like, oh, YouTube shut down my channel, or YouTube turned off the comments, or YouTube stopped monetizing my videos, and blah blah blah.
right.
And I didn't want the comments to be shut down. That was the thing. I didn't want the comments to be shut down. I didn't want my channel to be shut down. So I kind of was very careful,
Okay,
not
do it.
putting them in every single video.
Right.
My older one kind of understood. He was like, it's maybe it's better for him to not be on the video, and he wasn't
Right.
too psyched up about it anyway. But my younger one did have that. He was anticipating on being in some of the videos.
Okay.
So where I could put him in, I did put him in. And I didn't leave the camera on his face for too long. He'll say a couple
Right.
words, but most of the time it was like during an egg cutting video, which are probably like the most special times of ball python breeding anyway.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
so I put him in some of those where you can see his little tiny fingers, touching the snakes and pointing at them, and you can hear him in the background saying some stuff. And I would try to have a conversation with him during, but he was also very shy at that time. But yeah, I'm going on a tangent here. The name came with just combining their two full names.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. So I was always wondering how you came up with the Lucas Landon. Like, so
Yeah,
now, yeah, I
it,
didn't know that. So that's pretty cool.
it is
Um,
a little bit of a curse too, because it sounds so much like an actual name.
it
That
does. So I was wondering, like, I was like, it's like when I first met you and first started talking to you, I was like, Lucas Landon. I'm like, okay. Like, and then it's like, it was Kai. I'm like, oh, that's like, well, how do you come up with Lucas Landon? Like, that makes sense now. So that's
on
cool.
all my videos on the intro, I always say, my name is Kai. But yeah, there's a little bit of a curse because, like you said, people make that assumption that my name is Lucas, and then in a lot of my comments is like, "Congratulations, Lucas." I was like, "Okay, thank you."
Right? You
I,
got like,
I, yeah,
right,
even when I go on Justin Kabilka's, like, because Justin Kabilka's Patreon program, he allows us to actually go on and chat with him
right.
on like once a month Q&A kind of a
Yep.
deal, and he called me Lucas, which I'm used to by now. So he called me Lucas, and then I introduced myself, and I said, Lucas Landon is my brand. My name is actually Kai. And then like, oh, hi, Kai. And then like 2 seconds into the question, they were like calling me Lucas again. So it's really hard to break the habit,
Yeah,
especially
it
like
is.
when you see that name in the chat.
Yeah, especially when you like start talking to all these reptile breeders, it's just like it's sometimes like names and stuff, or I'm terrible with names at times.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite gene that you like to work with?
God, that changes all the time. Um, you ever like see a brand new car and you just think that's not my style, it's ugly, why did they ever come
Yeah,
up with that? But then it grows on you and
yeah,
you're like, I want to get that car now, but everybody else has one already. Like you get to the point where you're like, oh, I missed my opportunity. I'm kind of like that with these snakes. Like when Sunset came out, I was like, that's an ugly snake. I don't know why anybody would pay even like $1,000 for it, let alone $10,000 for it. I went to Brock Wagner's table when Sunset came out. Just after it came out like, a few years, I was at Tinley. I went to his table, and I was just curious, like how much he would actually sell that for
Right.
face to face, having a face to face. Maybe I can negotiate for something. And I was actually invited there by some friends, and I had one of their lanyards with me. So it was my name, but it was
Right.
their company. And Brock, like, he just glances down at that, and then he gave me like a ridiculously low price, and I still said no. So I felt so bad because that
You were
wasn't
like,
that wasn't my that wasn't like what I was going after. I wasn't trying to like lowball him. I was just trying to see like how much he would sell that animal
right.
for if it was just a regular customer, if we could negotiate. But as soon as he saw that, he knew the company that was on my lanyard, so he just gave me a
Right.
really low price for it, just out of respect for the owner of that company. Like he thought I was an employee, and he just gave
Right.
me. And I was like, oh, okay, no, I don't want to. I don't play this game. I messed up. Sorry, I gotta go. But yeah, like I didn't think Sunset was a great project to begin with. I thought they browned out, and
They
and I
do.
and a lot of people say they only look good when they're hatchlings, which is all true. And even Brock said, he was like, well, I'm only selling them when they're babies. So
Right.
it's like,
That's when they look
uh,
good.
yeah. But then like this you saw some of the now I'm seeing a lot of combinations with Ultramel with
The
what's the other one?
DHI looks good in it.
Yeah, a lot of the genes. I know Brian Cusco just recently made like an Enchi cinnamon or Enchi black pastel version of it. I really like the Pied. I mean, Pied is one of my
Yeah.
favorite
Yeah.
genes. So when I saw Justin feature that leopard sunset Pied, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, now I have a vision that I can move towards, I can go with. And so that's why last year I made a decision to purchase a Sunset. And I was thinking that, oh, you know what? If I purchase a hatchling now, what this was last year, then I would be like another year behind because it would
Right.
take like a year to mature. And I have so many animals that I probably wasn't going to be able to get away with a an 8 or 10 month old male. I would probably need something a little bit bigger. And then just so happens that someone in PA, which is the state next to me, he posted up his adult Sunset. Um, he wasn't proven at the time,
Right.
but the breeder did say that he locked with a couple of his females. However, he needed money to for a new home, a down payment for a new home,
Oh,
and I was like, oh well, I was willing to pay that amount anyway, so I'm not going to negotiate with this guy. He's doing it. He needs a
right.
home, so it's like I just paid the amount. I got the animal that I needed, and that boy put in so much work for me this season. Um, I had on paper, I was like, I can put him to all 25 of these females, or
Right.
24, 25. But of course, like not all of them will go. And then it was just too much for him. So I had to start like pulling some females out. What I do is, even though on paper, I have 24, 25 females,
Right.
the the adult females that are proven, I'll take a look at their breeding cycle.
Uh-huh.
And if there's more than five females, so sorry, five or more females that are on the same breeding cycle, I pull one of those females out because I don't want him to burn out on five females. I think the maximum I would put him to is four. So if there's more than that,
Right.
then I pull them out. And then there's some cycles where there's only two adult proven females, and then that's when I try to put him to some of the other non-proven, the virgin females
Right.
during that period and see if they'll go. So, like I said, there were a couple that reabsorbed. There were a few that I missed on timing because of those things, because he was like in shed or something, or there was just too many females on the same cycle. So those females ended up reabsorbing, which I should have put a different male to them so that I still get the eggs.
Right.
But I was just so fixated on
On the
getting
sunset,
on the
your heads and
sunset
stuff,
stuff,
right?
and I was just thinking maybe next week, maybe I'll put him with her next week, but they ended up reabsorbing. So I think this season, I probably will have more than 10. He'll probably have sired more than 10 clutches.
Okay, so you're going really hard on it this season then too, huh?
Yeah, because I really like the pieds. So I want
Right.
to.
Have
My
you seen?
plan.
Did you see that in person? Have you seen Justin's one? When me and Carr went down there with the VIP thing in November, like it's amazing in person. The video didn't do it justice. Like it was. It looked. I like to see what it looks like now with age.
See, that gets me psyched up even more to know that I didn't see its true beauty yet.
Yeah, its true beauty is it was pretty nice. It was nice. Like you won't be disappointed with that visual at all. But I want to see what it looks like, as an adult. See if it like browns out as much. But I mean, regardless, it was still nice. Like I liked it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't see the chat while we're talking. Is there a way to like split screen it so I can see some of these people who are on here?
I don't think there is. I think because like only I can see that right now, just because like I'm the moderator of it.
Oh, okay.
Because like, I'm the same way with other people's like podcasts and stuff too. Like if I'm on theirs, like I can't see the chats unless they highlight it. So I'm trying to highlight it and stuff too.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the one thing I don't really care about too much about StreamYard is like it's hard for us. Like only I can see the chats unless you were to go on your phone. Like I don't know. Are you using your phone right now?
I'm using my phone because my laptop is super slow.
So you can't even like go on your phone either and look at it because I had that problem too.
I've tried to have the phone, to do this on the phone and then go on my laptop on the YouTube channel, on your YouTube channel, for example. If I go there, but if there's a delay, is that what you're talking about? If I use my laptop?
Well, I mean, I don't have a delay on it, like a lag, but I'm like with the comments and stuff like that. Like even if you were on your laptop and stuff, like you can do the StreamYard on your laptop, and then you can go on your phone, and then you can see the comments.
Oh, okay.
You see, like you'd have to go like click on the link, actually act like you're watching the video of us or whatever. Then you can see all the comments and stuff. But like while you're in the podcast, whatever, I can't bring it up, or you can see it. I wish I could. It's not that. It's not that.
No, I just wanted to say hi to everybody and give them a shout out if I see them, but I can't see them, so just
I try.
Hi everybody.
If they say something, I try to highlight them like the best I can and stuff, like what's going on with the chat and stuff, so you can see it. So, but yeah, I don't like that either. I wish they'd fix that, but It is what it is. So like, what's your most underrated gene that you think is out there that you work with personally?
My most underrated gene.
Underrated gene.
So there's a gene that I found that I haven't told anybody the name of it yet. I just give it an alias. I call it resurgence.
Okay.
It hasn't been worked with. So here's a story. When I started, this whole hobby was about stacking genes.
Right.
Like getting an animal with 5 genes, 6 genes, and to the point where like you see some of Brian's animals, some of Nerd's animals, and it's just like this bright yellow or bright orange snake, and they were like, oh, this is Odium, Lucifer, blah blah blah, Orange Dream, NGL. Like how do you see any of that?
Right.
But that was the craze back then. It was just stacking genes, and I'm thinking like, they did all this stuff anymore. Like Ozzy's done super Enchi, super Orange Dream, Yellow Belly, Leopard. Like, how do you make that even more orange? There isn't any way to get it more orange. And so I went on World of Ball Pythons, and I was just scrolling through like every single gene. I was looking at every single one of them. And I finally found one that looked very orange, very red, like a deep, deep orange. Which, by the way, I later found out from a friend that back then, World of Ball Pythons didn't have that much like regulations around it, so people were sending in like photo edited images.
Oh dang.
But it was too late at that point because I've already like acquired those animals.
Right.
Anyway, so I found out that animal, found out that gene, but I couldn't find it anywhere. It wasn't even available for you to type in on Morph Market. So luckily on a World of Ball Pythons, it says who made it, like who's the owner or the creator of it. So I tried to find that guy, and he was on Facebook. So I messaged him on Facebook, and he says, I'm out of that. He's like, I don't do ball pythons anymore. He's into like birds, I think. He does like conservation of birds and stuff. And so I asked him like, who else has it? And after we got to talking, I guess he realized that I was serious, and he's like, listen, I have two that I still have. I was gonna keep them just because they have the genes that I
Right.
created. He's like, but I'll sell them to you if you want, because he doesn't really want to be in ball pythons anymore anyway. So I ended up taking those off his hands. I still reached out to other people that he said he sold animals to,
Right.
and most of those people were like, "Yeah, the gene got lost in my collection." Like they just didn't do anything with it, Like they would, and I'll get to that in a little bit later. But basically, they lost track of that gene.
Like while they were breeding it, and they couldn't really ID it too much, and then
Right. It was
out.
just like, I don't know
Right.
if it is or if it's not. And then they would just like, maybe the first generation, they're like, maybe it is, maybe it's not. So they'll just put possible, whatever
Right.
gene it is, like we always do in our hobby when we can't really identify
Yep.
stuff. But then when you take that animal and you breed it 2 or 3 or 4 generations down, you're not going to keep labeling everything as possible, right?
Right.
So they just stop labeling it.
It's
So
not, yeah. I
so
see. I see
I
what you
guess,
get.
yeah. So that's kind of what they did. So what they mean by they kind of just lost track of it. And a lot of people that he sold the animals to were just small time breeders that probably just got out of it.
Right.
Maybe they broke their collection, maybe they sold their collection, and then that gene gets lost. So it could be in your collection, for example, but you just don't
Right.
know it. It's very subtle though. It's very subtle. The super is really cool, but in the single form is very subtle to the point where I now think that it's a recessive gene.
Really.
Because yeah, like so the two that I got from the originator, I have those. I know for sure because I bred them together,
Right.
and I did get the uh, homozygous form of it, right? So I'm using homozygous because I don't want to confuse people with saying super. But so it's the homozygous form, meaning it's the visual form. It has two copies of that gene. I did pick up a couple other animals from other breeders that said they have the animal with that gene,
Okay.
and they didn't prove out. Like my male that I have is a homozygous form of that gene. So technically, or we should statistically, half of that clutch, if that female did have that gene, then half
Yeah.
the clutch would have been the homozygous form, and the other half would have been this heterozygous form, and they didn't prove out. So I ended up and I couldn't identify it.
Right.
I was just like, when somebody says, "Oh yeah, it has it because it has this blushing here," I'm like, okay, that sounds good.
Like you're like, okay, yeah, sure. Like
Yeah.
you really look at, yeah.
Yeah, so I buy it and then I grow it up for like 2 years and then I breed it and it turns out it's not in there. So I don't want to keep breeding that female and holding, because I have to hold back all these animals. Like where am I
Yeah.
going to put them? I don't want to release them.
Right. You can't release those new ones because like you don't know. Yeah.
Right. So all the babies I have to keep because the dad was a homozygous form. That means all the babies are heterozygous forms. And then the mom I sold for just the base set of codoms that she was initially sold to me for. But I had one other female that was a trouble eater,
Okay.
and she was sold to me as a orange dream enchi plus that resurgence gene, head form of that resurgence gene. And when she came to me, she was very bright looking, and I was kind of thinking maybe she does have all those genes in her. But as she started aging, she just looked like a very nice enchi. Like
Okay.
I didn't see the orange dream in her anymore. She just
Right.
looked like a very nice example of an enchi. And like when you have an animal that's het for this or het for that, double het, triple hets, they just look nicer.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't really tell.
Yeah, they got that head influence on them and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the head influence. So that's probably why she looked like a very nice enchi, right? Because she's got that head
Right.
influence of that resurgence. So this year I actually bred her, and I got a clutch from her. I cut them already. They're in the incubator right now.
Okay.
I'm not going to divulge any more on that clutch. You guys will see the video.
Yeah,
You'll
keep
see the-
talking, Kai. Let's hear it. Come on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Secrets.
You're just pulling everything out of me.
Yeah, get everything out of you.
So that clutch is an incubator. That's really surprising. I will tell you that she did prove out to have that gene.
Oh, did she?
So that's yes. But what I want to do later on in some of my videos is to show multiple animals that maybe a het version of that gene. It's really hard to show somebody that it doesn't exist.
Right.
Well, it does. It's because I could like an Enchi, you can show that it has the wide eye bands, the green
Yeah,
eyes, and the banding across its back, and the orange, high orange up the
yeah,
sides. Same thing for orange dream. You can show all those things, but like it's really hard to say. Look, it doesn't. It's not there. So that's
right,
why I have to have all these animals that then I'm going to show, like they don't have any identifiable characteristics, and that is why I think it is a recessive. Like that's going to be the challenge that I have, because that's my only argument is like you can't tell. So I'm going to show, like, let's say I show a clown and then
right,
another clown that I think has that the het resurgence gene, and I'm going to put them on camera and be like, see if you guys can tell which one is which,
right.
right?
See,
And it,
if there's a difference in it.
yeah, and
Gotcha.
I don't think people can tell the difference because they look. The only way to really say is like if you have a really nice example of something,
Right.
right? Like if I put like 10 average or low quality enchies in a bucket, and then I put my enchi that is het for resurgence in it, you probably pick that one out right away because it just looks nicer.
Yeah.
But if I say like would you take a bullet for that animal, like you know what I mean, like if I held you at gunpoint
Right.
and made you guarantee, would you be able to guarantee it? And I still think that person would say no, I can't guarantee it, because it's really hard to tell between a enchi het resurgence versus a high quality or high expression enchi.
Gotcha. So, are you going to be releasing that video or whatever, that clutch or whatever? Are you going to be showing that clutch off, or are you keeping that one on the down low?
No, I'll show that clutch. It might come out later because I have two clutches this
Okay.
season, possibly three. So I'm hoping that, well, the third one I don't know, hasn't even laid yet. So I'm hoping all of them are successful and I get a good number of hatchlings and I get good examples.
Oh, yeah.
So that you can see like a super pastel versus a super pastel het resurgence versus
Right.
a super pastel resurgence, so that you guys have something to compare against. So I'm gonna wait until they all hatch out, that they all have a shed, and then maybe release something. My plan is to do a video where I kind of show all those animals and hype it up a little bit.
Right.
But then I have to do like a really long, boring ass video, because that's what Morph Market needs in order for them to list that as a
Okay.
gene.
Gotcha.
So it's gonna go into like a lot of like boring shit, like here's the history of it, and it's gonna be all dry and monotone video of it. But they want proof. They need something more tangible, not just me saying, "Hey, I think it's recessive. Make it recessive."
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I get it. So,
Yeah, it was a lot easier back then. In like 2017, 2018, because I think it was only John. Like John,
oh, really?
he created Morph Market, and at that time he was still like deep in coding it. Because I remember
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
some of the interviews with him, and he's talking about like he's actually coding, like writing the programs and applications and software for Morph Market. But it's different now. But back then it was him, and I would just email him, and I was like, "Hey, I found this new gene. Can you add it to Morph Market?" And he was like, "Okay, sure."
Just done.
It's done.
Easy,
Like,
easy
yeah,
peasy, right?
yeah. I mean, there were some more conversations around it, like because he said, "Oh, we have this update or release coming, so I will add it on the next like version 2.7 or whatever it is."
Right. Yeah, I
You
remember
know,
doing all those upgrades to it and stuff. Like when
yeah,
I first started and stuff, like
but
he was still upgrading it and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was so easy. You just send him an email, and then he goes, "Okay, answer this set of questions." I answered the set of questions, send him some pictures, and he was like, "Okay, I'll add it on to the next release, the
Right.
next version." But recently, I said, I, I dug up that email and I attached it. And I said, "Hey, remember this conversation that we had? Well, I actually think that this gene is a recessive based on blah 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 blah." And I gave him like 3 years of history on it. But then he came back and he was like, "Yeah, you have to fill out this other form. It's different now. We have to put it on this forum so that people
Dang.
can react to it and people can reference it later." And I was like, "Well, I'm not ready to tell everybody that I'm working. This is my secret gene
It's
yet."
still a secret.
Yeah, I was like, it's still a secret. I'm not ready to tell people yet. So I was like,
I
maybe
mean,
let's hold off. Let's hold off.
I get what he's saying though. I mean, because like if someone else that has something similar to it, like wait a minute, like well, let's compare this with that or whatever. We'll see if these genes, I mean, it makes sense a little bit. But I
Yeah,
mean, I get where you're coming from too. Like, hey, it's still a secret. Like,
yeah, yeah. I
you know
mean,
what I
I
mean?
I can clue you in on something, but I have no idea if this is even the same gene or not. So Will Morose from RCR,
Okay.
he created something that he called Chaos. He said it just popped up in his collection. Um, that was around the same time that I had gotten my first clutch. Now they look different. I don't think that they're the same,
Right.
but they do a lot of the similarities, but there's still a lot of differences. And I actually asked him because I purchased animals from him before, so I have his phone number and stuff. Um, I messaged them and I was like, hey, I might have something similar. Can I get one of your animals
Right.
to breed and see if we get a
I was gonna
homozygous
ask you
form?
that. Yeah. Have you guys done that?
And his response was, now keep in mind, we weren't like best of friends or anything. It was just like I was a customer that went to him a few
Right.
times, and I met him at Tinley. Or if he sees me now, he probably won't know my name unless I remind him, hey, remember these animals that I got from you?
All right.
Because he remembers his animals more than his customer, well, more than me anyway. And he was like, well, I'm not sure I want to release them yet. Somebody offered me $60,000 for a homozygous form, and I
Dang.
and I turned it down. And I was like, oh, I didn't know it was like that much. I was like, forget it. It probably we'll never come to a compromise where I can get one of your animals because I'm not ready. I'm not ready to spend like a whole down payment on a hunch. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. We had a interesting conversation there. It's all fun. And plus, like I don't, like I said, there's differences, and I don't think that these animals made it to Canada. To be honest,
Oh,
like
okay.
it's a really far stretch to
Right.
even think that they are similar, to even think that they are related, like allelic or anything like that. But they do have some similar characteristics.
Gotcha. So, like, did you ever get burned like when you were first starting off? 'Cause I know I was talking to Antoine and stuff. And we did that podcast with Antoine. He was like, I put all my money in the desert gene. That turned out being infertile. You couldn't get any eggs out of females and stuff. So, maybe you ever had anything like that or anything?
Nothing as extreme as that. Like I said in the beginning, I was trying to buy some adult animals just to catch,
Practice and
catch up on some time. Yeah,
right,
practice and also catch up on some. So I did end up getting some females that had some problems. Like it wasn't like they were sick or anything. It was just that they were. It seemed like they had a high number of slugs,
okay,
right? And the babies come out of the egg and seemed like there was some deformities. Now I don't know if it was the male or if their genetics were too similar or what have you. Because after like the first season, I was like, oh, I don't need to do this anymore. Like I didn't want to keep trying with the same
right,
female. And it could have been because they were adults by the time I got them, and maybe they just didn't settle in. So a couple, there was one female that I tried twice, 2 seasons, with the same male. So I still don't know if it was her or if it was the male because I tried the same pairing, like stupid me.
right.
Um,
Oops.
yeah, but then there's other females that like I get them, they seem like they settle in, and then they'll reabsorb. So it's like, you know what? And at that time, I was kind of like moving very fast with my
Right.
project. So I was like, so by the time they got up to size, and if they didn't produce a clutch for me that season, my mind has already shifted because
So
I
you,
get bored. I get bored very easily, right? So my mind has shifted. It's like I don't want to do that anymore. I'm gonna go pied. I'm gonna go desert ghost now.
right.
So those animals that didn't have any recessives, I'm like, I'm just gonna cut my losses. I know I purchased this animal for like $800, and I put like $1,500 of food and time into her, but I don't want to breed her and then like not be happy with the hatchlings, even if they all came out like perfectly healthy. Like I'm not in that direction anymore. I'm going in a different
Right.
direction. So I just keep changing, and that's one of my, I don't know if you want to call it a disadvantage or an advantage, because I do change my mind quite often. So I haven't lost, I haven't been deceived, is what I'm saying. I don't think
Right.
I've been deceived like
Just your
Antoine's
basic,
story.
typical like bad luck.
Yeah,
So I have
Yeah.
a question from Kingdom over here. He goes, "How do you know when a female is not going to lay? She seems to have gone through all the steps but hasn't laid yet."
I think there's like a lot of variables to that, and I don't know how best to answer it. Probably need more information about if you're talking about a specific female that you have. Um, if she, so if I mean it's really hard to answer because I don't know
Do you ultrasound, guy?
specifically. I did buy an ultrasound this season, all
You
because
did?
of that,
That,
sunset male.
oh, okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to stretch him as much as I can and get as much use out of him as much as I can without tiring him too much. So if I was able to find the females with the 20+ millimeter follicles, that would be the optimal time
Right.
to put him in. And he's pretty much gone to the females 2 to 3 times maximum. Like I don't tire him out that way. But yeah, but to answer that other question, it's really hard to know if the female is not going to lay. I'll tell you my experience, because I actually missed a few females this season. They would have follicles, and they would go through all the steps where they're pounding food and growing their follicles, and they're cooling, and then they stop eating, and I kind of just forget about them. Right, I
Right.
forget about them, and I'm thinking this is all normal because their follicles are 20 millimeters or above. They got too much mass in their body. They
Right.
stop eating, and it's all normal. I'm just thinking it's all normal, it's all normal, it's all normal. And then one day you just see them like at the front of the tub, and I'm thinking, oh, they just want another male. You know, they're looking for the male. They smell the hormones in the
Right.
air. So I put in the male, but it doesn't lock. I'm like, what's going on? Maybe the male's tired. Maybe the male, like just my mind starts to wander of like all the what ifs.
I've had that happen.
And then all of a sudden she starts eating. That to me is a sure sign that she ain't gonna lay. She's
No,
already reabsorbed.
no, because I
She's
had
done.
one do that last year on me. Yep, I had one.
Yeah.
That was the one I think that the tub caught fire on me or whatever. I had it melted. Like the probe came off the sea serpent's rack, and she was pounding food, and then she stopped and she was pairing really good, and then that tub caught fire, and I mean it melted. It didn't catch fire, but it almost did. And it was all melted down, and she was up front. Luckily, she didn't get hurt. But after that, she started pounding food again, and she went lock, and she reabsorbed on me. He said Kingdom Python said she ovulated, pre-lay shed, but waiting on eggs. I'd say if you don't have an ultrasound, bud, you're just gonna have to keep waiting. If you miss that ovulation, it will cut, man. That's probably I have an ultrasound stuff, and I was probably about dead on with my ultrasound, my follicles, and I was able to time everything. So I would definitely say if you don't have one, I say it's worth an investment. Like Kai said too, you can see where the females are at as well, and you don't have to sit there and guess and overexert your males that you're trying to use, because like how he's using that one male for 5 or 6 females, whatever. If you're pairing too soon, your male's gonna get tired. So, I mean,
Okay.
it will come.
Yeah. She's planning on getting one. Okay, good. Yeah, it's definitely helpful to have one. It's not absolutely necessary,
No,
but
it's not.
especially on things like this where you're not sure, and you're just wondering, like, what the hell's happening with her. That this is when like that ultrasound really comes in handy. A lot of times, though, I get people messaging me, and they're saying the same thing. They're saying they saw the ovulation in the pre-lay shed, but she's just not laying. A couple things you can try if you don't have the ultrasound is palpate her. Even if you have never palpated or you think you suck at palpating, it's really hard to, if she's very far along, it's very hard to not feel either bumps or squishy water balloons. So go palpate her. If you feel the bumps, those are still follicles. That means what you thought was an ovulation was just a build, because they'll still swell up a little bit, but not as big as an ovulation. So a lot of people will mistakenly see a swell and think it's an ovulation, and then further believe it's an ovulation when they see a pre-lay shed, or they see a shed 2 to 3 weeks after, thinking that, oh, that's the pre-lay shed, which it could just be coincidence that she shed at that time. So go feel her for follicles, for bumps. If you feel squishy balloons, then you're probably waiting on eggs. If you feel follicles, then you're still waiting for an ovulation.
Yeah, because that happened in the car. Car was like, "Oh, I think I had ovulation." I started talking to him about it. I'm like, he sent me a picture and stuff, and I was like, think that's just your pre-laced head, bud. And then she finally did ovulate, and he's like, yeah, you're right. I mean, you can easily mix it up and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, the build happens a little bit further up on the female body. The ovulation happens a little bit further down near the tail. And a lot of times, almost all the time actually, when you see an ovulation, the tail is like
it's sucked in too. Yeah,
they're sucked in, and the tail is curved at like 90 degrees or more.
Yep.
So that's another thing you can look for. If the tail's not that curved, then it's probably a build. They're just a little bit uncomfortable. But that ovulation, you can tell they are not comfortable.
Yeah, like they eat a freaking football. The Mojave girl ovulated. I went in there. I'm like, yep, there's the ovulation right there. You can't miss that one. Like I was like dead on with the ultrasound and stuff. Like I said, so I had a good idea when she was going to do it. So do you have like any regrets, like when you first started, like if you could do something differently, like when you first started compared to like what you know now, like what would you probably do?
I don't know if I have any regrets. If I had the knowledge that I had now to start over, like if I could go back in the past and tell my past self how to start. By the way, I'm very stubborn. So even if I go back to the past and tell my past self to start, I probably wouldn't even listen to myself. That's how stubborn I am. But I think you see, it's hard because there's that like when I started, I was
using
some of the experiences that I gained from my aquarium fish breeding hobby. And with fish breeding, like you can buy a $5 fish, two $5 fish, breed them together, and all you're going to end up with more $5 fish. Or you can buy like a $90 or $100 fish, breed them together, and you're going to end up with all $100 value fish. But the cost of breeding $2 fish and $100 fish is the same. You still have the same water changes, still have the food, the heating, the utility, and all that stuff. So I took that experience and I applied it when I did my ball pythons, and I was thinking, you know what, I want to have a margin. I want to have a big profit margin so that the animals can pay for themselves, because the last thing I want to do is shell out money like I did on my saltwater tank. I paid like, I don't know, $17,000 on like equipment.
Dang.
And then a lot of stuff died. I don't want to get into it, but my point is that like I wanted to have a high enough profit margin so that it made the projects worth it, and that they could basically feed off of their own sales. I don't want to buy more food for them and dig into my pocket, my bank account, and hopefully save enough so that I can buy future animals using them. So that was the mentality. Now you're asking me how would I do anything different?
Yeah, would you do anything different?
That's pretty much the same thing. Like I would go back in time and say to myself, buy the most expensive animals that you can afford.
Right.
But if I heard that, I would think I'm already doing that, because expensive back then to me was a few $100s.
True. Okay. Yeah. I see what you're talking about.
Whereas now, you know how much you spend with your zebra, right? So it's like,
I'd say probably on average, people would pay like $2,000 a snake for a good breeder, depending on the gene. Like if they're like really breeding, you're probably spending at least $2,000 on a snake easy.
Right.
That's not even your your higher end recessive codom stuff either. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, what do you think the future is with the ball pythons? Like, what gene do you think is going to be the next big thing?
I mean, I don't see clown dying down.
I don't either.
I see desert ghost on the rise. I see hypo picking it back up. I don't think anything like puzzle or tri-stripe is going to beat out clown or pied, because pied is like that entry drug, right? Like everybody looks at the pied because it looks so different than anything that they've ever seen before, which is funny, because it's like, have you ever seen a black and white dog? Like you know what the pied is. Like you tell people it's like a black and white cow. That's the pied gene. You've seen this before. You just never saw it on a snake.
That's true.
So that's the entry gene. That's why I think pied will always be popular. I think even the normal pied will always be popular. But pieds kind of get capped. Like once you add,
your OD,
super,
your yellow
yeah,
belly, like
yeah.
yeah, like
You get
you're
to a point where it's like you don't need to add anymore because you're not going to see a big difference, you
right.
know. But the clown, I think, is going to like continue to that upward trajectory. Um, the clown is just so unpredictable,
It
right?
is.
It's not like Desert Ghost or Tide where like you could kind of envision, oh, if I add these
Right.
totems on there, that's what it's going to look like. The clown is just so different. Like now that we know we found a key to unlock it, like there's multiple keys, which is you have Spot Nose, you have Lace, you
Yep.
have Yellow Belly. I mean, Yellow Belly's been
Right.
around
Right. Yeah.
forever.
All that.
All these genes have been around forever, and then we finally found that it kind of it unlocks the clown, and now if you just combine one of those genes and a bunch of other known genes, like it produces a completely different animal. Like if you have a you know I don't know, I'm just going to pick a Enchi clown for example. It's a very clean animal, right? It's
Yep.
got like it's got
The
pretty much
yellow coming up on it, like
and it's got that dorsal, even though it's
right.
broken, but it's like spotted. But it's like, okay, that's a cool animal. That's a very nice animal. But then you throw spot nose in there. It's like I didn't expect it to do that,
No.
right?
Spot nose is so strong. Like
Right.
I
And
don't
so
know if
like,
you've seen Wookiee too in Clown. It was really,
yeah,
really good.
Wookiee, Hurricane, Trojan. Like
Yeah,
there's so many genes that you wouldn't expect the interaction that it has with clown. And I think that's the best part of the clown is like there's just so many surprises
right.
when you breed these animals, and I think that's why I don't think anything is going to beat out the clown for like a very very long time.
Yeah, because Car just picked up that Wookiee black pastel clown from Justin. I was just like, man, that thing's amazing. Like, I love that thing. I mean, that's bad. So yeah, I mean, I see it with the clown. You can get your different variations and stuff, especially with these new recessives coming out and stuff. Like a clown zebra, maybe. Like I like to see what zebra does a clown at some point or whatever. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure Cabelco's already almost there.
He's there. He's almost everywhere, you know.
I'm sure he'll probably see one in the next year or two. So I can't wait to see that. I was gonna ask you something else. So like, when did you actually stop? Like, I know you still buy because like I've seen you. You just got your DG pie and stuff like that. Like when did you stop buying heavily though? Like so like where was your cap from when you first started to okay, like I need to stop, like I'm gonna breed for a little bit, and then I'm gonna use that money, to obviously reinvest in my business. Like when was that mark for you?
I think about 3 years into ball pythons, I started to say that to myself every day, like I'm gonna stop.
Right.
I'm gonna stop, and then I end up buying 10 more animals. So so yeah, I say that all the time. I mean, I remember last year. Last year, I said that to myself, right? I looked
Right.
at my spreadsheet and I said, you know what, I'm a little bit like I'm a little bit below. I'm about to break even. I have some of these animals on hold, so once I sell them, I would be above. So maybe this is a good time for myself to just slow down a little bit because I already have all these animals in here. I can probably make whatever I want to make that I'm interested in. I should just slow down. Yeah, I should slow
Right.
down. And then I saw the redhead clown.
Yeah. I gotta have that.
like like right after, like right after I said that, I saw the redhead clown. And of course, I started searching on Morph Market for redhead het clowns or visual clowns or even just a redhead, um, a good quality redhead.
They're
And they were
expensive.
like, of course, they were like ridiculously expensive.
Yep.
And then I stumbled upon another animal, which is the bongo.
Yep.
I mean, I knew about bongo for a long time, but I just never thought about putting bongo into a clown. So I went from telling myself to slow down, to not buy anything, to looking for redhead, to now bongo. It's like there's no like line that connected everything. It was just like just crazy stuff that I just think of, and then all of a sudden I just buy stuff. Um, yeah, even today, like even till this day, I mean, I still tell myself that, but I don't slow down.
Right. I do like the bongo. I like the bongo and pied. I do.
Mhm.
And then I'm a big fan of the HRA. I love it. I love how you get that white around the alien heads and the white flamings up on them. So I got some HRA. Like I know a lot of people don't do too much with it, but I think it's a very underrated gene for me. So
Yeah,
we'll see what I can do with it. So it'll be kind of fun.
yeah,
So
and it's fun working with genes that have allelic other allelic stuff
right.
to it, because then you're like, oh, what if I switch out the HRA for what's the other one? Is Lori in the same complex?
I don't
Like
know. I don't remember if it
Lori?
is or not. I think it is. I don't remember offhand. I'd have to look.
Okay, okay.
I know HRAs are allelic to cinnamon. I want to say I think it's
Cinnamon, black
Black
pastel,
Pastel
right?
and
Hoffman.
yeah, Huffman. I think it was like the other one. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
three of them. Yeah.
yeah. So I think Lori is one, but don't quote me on that. But my point is, like, it's cool when you're working with a gene that it has a group of genes that are
Right.
all allelic, so then you can just swap one out, or you can make supers, different kinds of supers, because like black pastel and cinnamon, you can alternate or make supers, but they all turn out black. But I don't think that happens with some of the other ones. Like if you put HRA with HRA and you make a super, that's not a black snake. And
No,
if you put it,
you get the
and you
red
put,
Xanthic, and it's more. I have a super pastel red Xanthic boy, but the
mhm,
super pastel washes it out so much. Whatever. He's still pretty cool looking,
yeah,
but the red Xanthic version of it, which is obviously people don't know, it's your super version of your HRA, which is why they call it the red Xanthic. I blows my mind on some of the names, but
that's like one of the only names that actually makes sense to me, even though it doesn't follow
right, it doesn't follow
the
like
same naming as all the
right
other genes. That's the only one that actually makes sense, because red xanthic and then het red xanthic, they actually like put the
the
term in the name itself.
yes,
Yeah, but what I was saying, like, you can make the red xanthic, which is the super form, and then you can maybe take one of those copies of red xanthic out and put in like a Hoffman, as long as you're not making a black snake, is what I'm saying. Like,
right, exactly,
so you can still see
exactly.
pattern. It's still fun to mix and match, as long as you're not making a pure black snake.
Yep, because that's no fun. You can't see nothing.
Like having one is cool,
It
like
is.
I would like to have like one panda pied, and I already have a blue eye Lucy, but I couldn't imagine having like 4 or 5, a whole rack full of blue eye
Just
Lucies. Like I
blue eye
don't.
Lucy's, yeah. I mean, they
Yeah,
sell. I mean, oh, that
they
reminds
do.
me. So, when you first started selling your ball pythons, did you do a lot of expos, or were you just more on Morph Market, or like how did you do that?
I remember I said I think this is like my 5th or 6th season.
Yes,
I've only had a table once,
really.
and it wasn't even my table. It was like my buddy who had a table ever since he was like in his teens,
Okay,
and he never filled up the table.
right.
He's got like one display on there, an 8 foot table with one display, and he was like, "Hey man, do you want to split a table?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to split a table. I don't want to go to a show and bring all my animals and then worry about them having a quarantine, and stuff like that." But then one day I was like, you know what? I have all these animals, and maybe I just go for fun. And he
Right.
said he had the display cages for me and everything. So all I had to do was bring my animals and drive 2 hours. I was like, all right, fine. So I did that. So I've only done it once at a show. I've only sold animals once at a show. Everything else has been on Morph Market. I'll tell you that in the beginning it's very difficult because nobody knows who you are.
Right.
Um, and you don't have like the best animal. You're like, I made pies and het pies, and I made albinos and candinos. Like that's what I made in the beginning. Luckily those things do sell, but to me it still took a long time for me to sell them. Like it felt like a long time because
Right.
I thought people were just selling them, like posting them, and then they would go after a week or something.
So
But for me, I was like weeks and weeks and weeks, and finally, because there's so many albinos and candinos
yeah.
and pies that like, not they don't have to buy from me. They can just buy from somebody else that's closer to them and not have to
Right.
pay so much shipping. That's also an issue because I live on the East Coast, so like if you live in Central, you probably would pay maximum like $60 at most to any state in the country. Whereas
Right.
I'm on the East Coast, and somebody who wants something from like Seattle or from California or San Fran, they're paying like 90 some dollars. I have to tell them, yeah, this
Yeah.
package just cost $96 for me to send. So I feel bad there, but
I mean, yeah. I mean, just the inflation and stuff like that. I saw my shipping
yeah,
costs
because
through,
you
just
last
buying.
last year I was only paying like 86 to ship to California. And so this year, somebody from California reached out and wanted to buy one of my animals. I think it was an Xanthic. And I just said, oh, it's $80. But then when I actually typed in the to create the label, the
Right.
price was like 96 or something like that. So I don't, so I try to help people out by not having them pay the full amount, unless it's like an animal where I've already lowered the price,
Right.
right? Like if everybody else is selling at like 500, I'm already selling at 450, and I've already lowered it. And then plus they call and they'd be like, hey, can I get a further discount? Would you do it for four? Well, then I'm like, I'm not going to take off shipping. I'm not going to do both. You know, I'm not going to give you $50 discount and still pay for shipping.
Right.
So, but I don't want to be a jerk either. So I'll be like, you know, can we half? Can we split the cost? You know.
Right.
But then I'm thinking like, if I'm already doing that, do I really want to keep having these conversations and like feeling like I'm nickel and diming somebody else and having them feel like they're nickel and diming me? I was like, why don't I just set a flat cost for my shipping? Why don't I just either give them free shipping if it's over $1,000, or just tell them it's like $40 or $60? Just split it
Right.
with them from the beginning. You know, just split it off the bat. What was your question again? Oh, selling snakes. Something about selling
Yeah.
snakes.
No, it was the expo. It was the expo question.
Oh, the
Like whether
expos.
you
Yeah,
did expo or morph market.
yeah. I
Uh,
just in the beginning, I didn't even know I wanted to put anything on Morph Market. And I only had two clutches. I think you had to enter in more information on Morph Market in order to start listing your animals, like as a
right.
seller. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to keep doing that. So, like I said, those two clutches initially were kind of tough to sell. I mean, looking back, it didn't really take that long to sell. But when you're
Right.
new and you don't really know
It
how long
feels
they
like
should
it.
take, it feels like it's forever. And I was even like going to pet stores, Petco, PetSmart, my local pet shops around my area that are run by like mom and pop shops. And I was actually like making small talk with customers who are like in the reptile section. They're like, hey,
Right.
I'll be like, hey, what do you have? And they'll be like, oh, well, we don't have anything. We have a frog. I was like, are you looking for a snake? Because I sell snakes, and that's like giving them my phone number and stuff like that. I did have one person who happened to be the store manager of PetSmart and called me and asked me for a albino female. So that was the only time it worked. But all the other ones I ended up just selling on like Craigslist, and I sold a few on Morph Market. I did end up posting a couple on Morph Market and selling it there. But
Gotcha. Yeah, because I'm doing my first expo in September. I'm gonna try to I do my first expo in September. So I'm gonna go up there. Like it's a little bit bigger city, a little bit bigger than like where I'm at. So they get a good flow there. But like I said, I just have those single G Mojaves, a bell. I'm keeping one bell that does have banana and it is a female. So and they're all 100% hypo. So we'll go see what I can go do over there. We'll see if I can get rid of some snakes. So wish me luck with that one. Because like those ones and stuff, I was the same way. I'm like, man, like isn't that something I really want to list on Morph Market yet? Like, I should be able. These are more pet quality, or someone that's just
mhm.
getting into this. That way, maybe wants a het hypo or something like that. So I'm like, I'll just wait, go to the expo, see what happens. So, do you breed your own rats?
I breed enough rats. I don't breed enough to satisfy the entire collection, but I breed just enough that I could get by.
Right.
If my rat guy runs dry, or if the frozen stuff on the internet runs dry, um, it's enough to sustain the collection, because you don't have to feed the animals once a week. You feed them once every 2 weeks or once every
Right.
3 weeks when things get tough. But I think it's really important to have your own supply, especially for like the breeding season, because you can lose all your females. Not lose them like not don't not like they die or
Like you
anything,
like
but
reabsorb or something like that.
yeah, you
Right.
yeah
Right.
yeah. So that could happen as well, and that did happen. So I think my last year I was hoping to get like more than 30 clutches, but
Okay.
I ended up like just four clutches more than the previous season. So I ended up like maybe like 28 or something like that. Yes, and that's I think a lot of that is because when I was looking for rats, nobody had them. Just nobody
Right.
had them, and those girls are the ones that take live, and I was trying to feed them weans because that's all the pet store had them, and I was paying
Oh,
like
man.
$6 for like weans because that's how much they cost.
Freaking
Because that's all because of COVID. I mean, it's not just because of COVID. Number one, pet stores sell them at a higher price
right.
than like a rat breeder or if you go online. Because if you go online, a wean is probably like $2,
Yeah,
$3.
that's about like yeah.
Yeah, and then rat breeders, they'll probably sell it to you for even lower if they know you're buying in bulk and quantity.
Right.
But yeah, I was paying like $7 for like a wean. Sometimes they were just like barely weaned, right?
Dang. I
And
mean,
and
yeah,
even
that's
and it was just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for those females to continue growing, and something triggered in their head, and they're like, nope, this season's not going to work, you know.
right. Yeah.
So that's why I say like for you guys who are like serious, and especially for those who have like expensive females that you need to that you really want to recoup your costs or continue that project every year, you really do need to have a stable supply
All right.
of rats, and
Right.
and the best way to do that, to be certain, is to breed your own. You
For
know,
sure.
if you live in a place where there's like 10 rat breeders in your area,
Oh, yeah, good.
that
Don't worry
doesn't
about
make
it.
sense. Yeah.
Right. But like that's like with you, like over here, it would cost me $5 a rat, and over where Car's at, it cost him $10 a rat. I was like, dude, I'm like, you're feeding just as many snakes as I am right now. Like, how can you afford that? Like, it takes me, I think it costs me probably around $300 a month just to breed my rats, and that's not bad compared to about $300 a week to feed the collection. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
for me, it was just a common sense thing. I mean, I bred rats before. I was just getting the tubs and the watering system and all that. I learned more about that than from the last time that I did it. It wasn't on such a bigger scale.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably the most. So do you feed? So like when you buy, do you? I mean, obviously you feed frozen too, right?
Hmm.
I can't. Wouldn't that be? Isn't that a pain? 'Cause how many snakes do you have?
No, not really. It's a lot of people do think that it's a pain, and if you compare the two, um, it's different. It's a different level of pain, right?
Right.
But both of them are, I think, equally painful. And I know because I do both, right? So like for me, if you think about if I'm just feeding frozen, I didn't spend weeks breeding them,
That's true.
right?
That's true.
And for me to just pick up a phone, not pick up a phone. I don't know. I'm really old. Go on the website and order, and then they ship it to you in a week. You
Right.
know, in a box, and you just throw it in the freezer, and you don't have to worry about taking care of them and cleaning them and making sure they're well maintained because they're already in a freezer,
Right.
right? So if you factor that in, and plus like the way I do my feedings, if I'm feeding when I'm feeding the frozen, is I'll just take them out, put them in a bucket of water, and if you count the time that I'm waiting around for that bucket to thaw, then yeah, it takes a long time.
Right.
But I'm doing other stuff,
That's
like
true. Yeah. So it's like it's just boom boom. Yeah. I
yeah.
had a que-
And then when I come back, I just put hot water in, just hot tap water, right? Hot
Yeah.
tap water, and all my bins are marked. I know my collection is not that big, right? So I know the ones that take frozen and the ones that take live.
Okay.
So I'll just go and um, it's just boom boom boom. One hand has a towel, the other hand has a pair of tongs. I just take the rat out, dry it, feed it, and the females that are like finicky,
Yeah.
I'll just keep them on live if I can,
Okay.
like because I don't want to sit there and dangle the
Right.
little rodent for
Yeah.
like 10 minutes. That does slow me down. So if somebody has a whole full collection and they have a bunch of those type of snakes where you need to like really entice them, then yeah, it is a pain. But
Needs to go to the
because
live.
because I have both live, I have you know access to both live and frozen. So the ones that take frozen, pound the frozen stuff, that's what they get. They get the frozen, and the ones that are either finicky or only take live, then they just get the live.
Gotcha. Will had a question. He put, "How many girls reabsorbed because hot spots were too high and killed the sperm? You think, or has anyone had that issue?"
I don't think. any of mine reabsorbed because of that. I think maybe previous seasons, I had some infertility where I get clutch after clutch, and there's like 3 or 4 or 5 slugs in there like all the time.
Okay.
And I look at where the male is in my room, and I'm like, maybe that rack is too hot because I feel like those males that are in that rack are the
Yeah.
ones that are producing, with the females are they're the ones that are producing clutches where there's high number of slugs.
Gotcha.
Whereas another rack with these other males, they're not producing as many slugs. Now, also keep in mind that the rack that I found with those males that were producing slugs, those are the younger males as well.
Okay.
So it could have also been that they were younger.
They were a little bit younger, right?
Yeah, this season I'm not using many young males. They're all like either they're like pretty big, like 700 grams and above, or they're already proven males.
Okay.
I try to not use too many young males.
How many snakes do you even have in your collection? What's your breeder, what's your male to female ratio, do you think?
So I don't know what the ratio is. I think I have like 150 males and females that I intend on keeping
Okay.
for like breeding purposes.
Right.
Right. So there's other ones that I'm like, yeah, they could go if they want. Like I'll put them on Morph Market if somebody gives me what I'm asking for.
Right.
They could go. I don't necessarily need to keep them. And then there's all the hatchlings, which are not part of the 150 because I haven't decided which ones are holdbacks, which ones are letting go yet. But if anybody asked me, I would say 150. As far as the ratio goes, that's really tough to say because I have a lot of males that are backups. Like I purposely keep a lot of backups.
True. Yeah.
Right. So like with the sunset, it was like 1 to 14, right? With the sunset to like 14 females, and then there's other ones where it's like 1 to 1.
Right.
Right.
I have a couple of those too. Yeah.
Especially like the double het to double het. Like I don't have like
Yeah.
40, I don't want I don't want like a whole rack of female double hets,
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, I'll just try it. It's just a fun thing. Like the tri-stripe stuff and the puzzle stuff where like I'm not heavily into it. It's like a 1 to 2.
Got it. We're gonna take the DG Pied at. I know you just picked up that one.
Everywhere. I'm gonna put him everywhere.
That's a male, right?
Yeah, it's a male.
Okay, so you're just gonna kind of do what you did probably to the sunset, pretty much to that sunset male.
Yeah, but it'll be like much further advanced than that because the sunset, I don't have any female sunsets. Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So everything is just making double hets with sunset and whatever the other recessive is. But for the DG, I mean, I'm going to be putting him to some of my pied girls that have codoms, and I'm going to be putting him to some DG females as well. Mainly, he's going to go to the DG females, I think, because I only have like 5 DG females, so I think he's just going to go to all 5 of those.
Get your codoms in it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Just make some more DG het pies. I might put him to something else. I don't know what, and maybe make a triple, but I haven't decided on what kind of triples I want.
Gotja. Yeah, see, I'm gonna go I like hypo. I do, like how you said. I've always liked it. Like even when I first started coming into this hobby / business, I got into a lot of hypo real quick. So like half my collection is hypo, and then I'm starting to work the DG into it too. So like I like the double recessives and the triple recessives and stuff. So I think that's the route that I'm going to be known for or try to go for. Plus you got your pet side of it too, that you're not always going to sell that higher end breeder stuff to people around here or anything. So if people are like, oh, you have a cheaper snake, yeah, I gotcha. Here you go. Like so I just think there's just 2 aspects of it. So we'll see. So I'm more of the hypo everything type guy.
I do like hypo in some combinations more than DG, which is probably surprising to hear from me. But DG will make the animal very clean. Obviously, you still have all that contrast.
Right.
But DG is so strong that one of its benefits becomes a hindrance if you're trying to keep a lot of the oranges. Because as it grows, it just gets brighter and brighter and brighter. And if there's oranges that you want to keep, it just turns out yellow.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Ozzy made a super orange dream DG Pied. I think I maybe.
No, I think you're. I think it wasn't too long ago, was it?
It wasn't too long ago. It was a Super Orange Dream DG Pied, and one of them might have had a leopard in it. Not had a leopard, had leopard in it. That wasn't too long ago. But I looked on his page. He actually made the same pairing, same animals a year ago.
Okay.
So he has two clutches, and out of those two clutches, they both had Super OD, Desert Ghost, and Pied. And if you look at some of the pictures of the older one, it's almost all yellow. So
Really?
it's like, yeah, so it's almost like, why did you put Super Orange Dream in it to begin with? Like, was it really worth it? Obviously, now we know.
Yeah, now you know.
Now you know. To me, it's probably not worth it because it just turned out to be looking like a pastel DG Pied.
Right.
But at the time, it's like that's the coolest thing because it did have all those orange.
When it's a baby and stuff like that, like that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that type of situation, it seems better to have the hypo instead of the DG because the hypo doesn't turn it yellow. It still cleans it, but at the same time, like you don't get the contrast as a DG. So you have to give and take a little bit. But I rather keep all of the oranges and lose a little bit of that contrast with the black being a little dull color. But then you can put other stuff in it, like put something else in it where there is no black anymore, and all you have is just this bright orange patch.
Right.
Like get rid of the black. If the black is bothering you because it's gray, then get rid of it.
Right, and go away with it, like for sure. So, hey, I'm gonna get off of here real quick. I gotta feed my collection and stuff. I haven't yet to do that yet today. So I appreciate you guys for coming on. Thank you for your time, man.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone that's still, no problem, man. Anyone that's still watching, we are doing a 500 subscriber giveaway for the channel. I got some people that are gonna be giving out a snake. I know Car's gonna be giving out a snake out of his clown clutch. I'm giving out away a T-shirt with the new logo on it. I got Jennifer's going to give out a swag pack. I think Bryce is going to give out a store credit for his store as well. So we'll do a spin to win for that when that hits. So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Kai, thank you so much for coming on channel again, man. I hope you have a good day.
You too, man. Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.
Stay, guys.